What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here. Of course, the Patriots fan, and Kevol, who is still getting over his disappointing Seahawks loss. We're here to recap the New England Patriots versus the Houston Texans in the divisional round of the AFC playoffs. Now, this game, if you would have told me it was 34-16, I would have been like, yeah, that probably sounds about the score that I picked. Because I picked 31-10, 31-13. So it was pretty much like right on. The score was a little bit off, I guess, but they still covered. The Patriots still covered somehow. But I think there are a little bit, I wouldn't call them concerns, but I would call them like unexpected events that happened in this game for the Patriots. I don't know if it's more impressive that they still won by this margin of victory or that it's just kind of concerning that they're still turning the ball over like this. But you have to give credit to the Houston Texans. They came in, they played hard, they fought, especially their defense, and they were a competent quarterback away from making this a competitive football game. I mean, it was competitive probably through the midway third quarter, and then the Patriots just took off from there. But the Patriots do win this one 34-16. Myself and Kev are going to discuss it, discuss the players, and going to discuss the victory of the New England Patriots. They will be moving on to the next round in the AFC Championship, which will be on January the 22nd, next weekend, next Sunday, facing rather the Steelers or the Chiefs. And we'll go over their potential opponents and tell you which one they would probably most likely like to play after watching them play tonight. All right. Kev, what are your initial thoughts on the Patriots-Texans game?
Well, it's kind of tough to analyze this in some senses because it was a game that went sort of the way we expected it to. So I think that you have to grade this on two levels here. So I'm going to first just quickly, let's look at the Houston Texans here for a quick section before we go to the New England Patriots. The Houston Texans defense, this score is deceiving because they were outstanding tonight. They put it all on the line. There was an incredible goal line stand at the half. If the Houston Texans had a competent offense, I think that this game would have had a different result. And any formation of a competent quarterback.
I don't think they would have won the game. I guess it depends. But all they don't have is a quarterback. I think it would have been close. And I think other teams can capitalize off these mistakes that the Patriots made. But you still look at an 18-point win, and you're like, that's still kind of impressive. I mean, in two ways, I know what you're saying, Kev. It's like, in a way, this was the score that we expected, but in another way, it was the way the game went wasn't expected. Like, I guess we expected the Texans defense to play well. They're the number one defense in the league in terms of giving up yardage. So we expected that the Texans would compete and play aggressive on defense, get after Brady. I think that they kind of surprised me with the amount of pressure that they got on Brady. That was kind of surprising. I thought they had a good game plan on defense. I thought the Patriots struggled at times to move the ball, but I kind of expected that a little bit. I mean, it's a good defense. It's the best defense the Patriots will play in the playoffs. It was the best defense coming into the playoffs. So, I mean, you kind of expected a good game from the Texans defense. On the other side of the ball, I think it pretty much went the way it was, like the way we expected. I think the Patriots defense dominated the entire game. The only way the Texans scored was when they got the ball on the 30 or 20-yard line. It was pretty bad offense from the Texans' point of view. There were a couple drives where they moved the ball, like the one drive where they got that Eric Rowe penalty at the beginning of the game. That was a huge momentum builder for the Texans, and they were able to go down and kick a field goal. But even then, they got all the way down the field and kicked a field goal. So the Patriots defense, I thought, played really well. And if you're a Patriots fan, you expected them to play well, but I think they played well and they made plays, and that's what you expected from them, and that's what you wanted from the Patriots defense.
Sure.
From a Patriots fan's perspective, I was disappointed on the way the offense played, but not really the way the offense executed. It was more the mistakes. Like at this point in the Patriots season, you don't usually see them turn the football over. But even when you see them turn the football over against a playoff team, they usually lose. So for me, I'm like, I don't know how to take this game, because there's been games in the past where the Patriots have lost to teams like the Ravens, where they've turned the football over, the Jets, where they've turned the football over, even at times Peyton's Broncos, when they've turned the football over, and they've had sloppy offensive games, and they've lost those games. But in this game, they won. And I don't know if that's a confidence builder for a Patriots fan, because we now have some confidence in our defense and the rest of our team, or if that's a bad thing. Like I'm don't know how to feel about this game.
Well, here's the question, I guess, that you're left with. And it was the question that we discussed on my podcast, is if you were a Steelers fan and you were a Chiefs fan out there, do you feel that this Patriots team is beatable?
I think the thing is, Kev, that I feel like this guy actually brought up a great question, because I feel like teams coming off the bye this year have been very sloppy, especially the Patriots. I mean, they had their two worst, like, in terms of turnover games against the Seahawks when they were coming off a bye, and this game. They're coming off a bye. Something about coming off a bye this season for the Patriots has been a bad thing. I don't know why. It's like they come out sloppy and they kind of miss that week of building momentum and playing. So for me, I think they were ill-prepared to face a tough defense after the Texans had to go through a playoff atmosphere type of game. They kind of just came in this one lackluster. And, let's just go over the turnovers real quick. The Patriots' first interception was honestly on Michael Floyd. He should have caught the ball. It was a little high, but it wasn't Brady's fault. And then the second interception was definitely Brady's fault. He didn't look, and it was just a bad pass. That's the one that makes me mad, but I feel like Brady won't do that many times, so I'm not really worried about that. Yeah. And then there's the Dion Lewis fumble. The fumbles are concerning because the Patriots actually had the most fumbles in the entire regular season, but then again, they went 14-2. So they're winning despite all of these turnovers, and eventually that might catch up with them. I just don't see it happening 2 weeks in a row or the 3 weeks in a row. So if they're going to play next week and they turn the football over 3 times, well, then they deserve to lose. But I just don't see it happening. That's what I'm thinking right now. I'm like, okay, if they played this bad with these many turnovers and still won by 18 points and advanced to win, and they're not going to do that again. Like, do you really think they're going to do that again, especially with Belichick being all over them this week to prepare for next week?
I don't expect them to turn it over 3 times. But at the same time, I think that the problem is, how do we put this?
It's hard to do analysis on this game, guys. Okay, I'll explain it in 2 ways. Okay, so the first way is, even when the Patriots turn the ball over, or any team turns the ball over 3 times, usually they're not all in your end. And second, a good team with a good offense in particular, most likely the Steelers, would take advantage of those and put points on the board. But then you also have to think like, well, would the Steelers defense be able to force those turnovers is the question. Because the Texans defense they're a very good defense. Maybe we're not giving enough credit to the Texans for forcing those turnovers.
No, I don't think that and it's hard to say this, it's an 18-point difference here, but I mean, I don't think the Texans got the credit the defense didn't get the credit that they deserved this year because of the way that the offense played, unfortunately. I think if they were a 10 or 11 win team, I think people would be looking at this Houston Texans team a little bit different. So I am going to say next year they'll have J.J. Watt back. I would say if they can get a quarterback, look out for the Houston Texans, because I think that they're going to be back around in this playing games at this time of the year again. And I think if it's a 3 turnover game with a competent offense, this is a different result. So in a sense, I guess the other question is did the Patriots take this team lightly? Because we as fans, let's be honest, took this game lightly.
Yeah,
like there may have been
it's like
one or
it's like Kev, being a Patriots fan is hard because we expect to be we expect to already be in the AFC Championship. So like when we play a game like this, we're like, oh, it's a win. It's easy, right?
Yeah, and but you beat a team that I think everyone was expecting you to win around this score.
Yeah. But it's just the way we won is interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, guys. I think I could see maybe the Chiefs causing a couple turnovers. That could potentially happen. I'm not going to bet on it because usually Brady only threw 2 interceptions all year. So for him to throw 2 in a game is like, wow, that just happened, right? So I don't expect it to happen again. I wouldn't expect the Steelers to cause 3 turnovers. I know one was on special teams, and it's interesting. I would consider Lewis had a great return. Lewis fumbled a couple times. If you're up like that in the game, I don't want to, Lewis is a great player, and he had 3 touchdowns, and he had a great game in this game. He had the kick return, a rushing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. So he had 3 different touchdowns in this game. I would expect in the fourth quarter for the Patriots, I would have expected. I thought they were going to put in Blunt in. So, after that fumble that Lewis had. So it shows a lot of confidence in your player, but also like in the fourth quarter, you want to hold on to the ball. They did recover that ball, but maybe next time it won't be a recovery, So if they're winning like that again, you got to have Blunt in there. Also, that's just a point to throw out.
But the Steelers adapt to whoever they're playing. So it's one of those situations that you may not see Dion Lewis next week. You may end up seeing LeGarrette Blount depending on who they play. So.
Yeah, it depends, right? Like I said to my friend, I'm like, Lewis scored 3 touchdowns this week. You never know if Blount scores 3 touchdowns next week.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for fantasy users, the Patriots are a frustrating lot.
Yes, they are.
You don't know what you expect.
Yeah, other than Edelman. Let's talk about Edelman. All right.
He had a tough start.
He had a tough start there. A lot of people don't know how good this Texans secondary is. Bouye, their best corner, is really good. He's been one of the top 10 corners in the NFL. Joseph is a veteran, very good corner. So they had those 2 guys on him for a majority of the night. Kareem Jackson couldn't stay with him for a lot of the night. But this guy, like when the Patriots started to get going on offense, he was the reason why. He's moved past Wes Welker for Patriot receptions in the postseason. So he holds the record for Patriots postseason receptions. And I think he's like 9th or 10th all time now. So you could see him maybe move up the ladder. But this guy continues to be clutch. He did have that one drop, which I think was mostly on Brady, in my opinion. It was thrown back shoulder when it should have been in front of him. Edelman had 8 for 137, played really well. Him and Lewis were the guys to move the chains for the Patriots on offense. Chris Hogan also made a couple big plays down the field. I was very shocked the way the Patriots played offense in this game in terms of throwing the ball down the field a lot. I didn't expect that so much, but they continued to do it, I guess because they had enough time at times. Like, it was a weird defensive game plan. I think that the Texans did a really good job with their defensive game plan because they threw the Patriots and Tom Brady off. One play, there would be 2 guys, literally 2 guys rushing, and Brady would have 10 seconds to throw. And then the next play, it would be like 6 guys blitzing. So Coronel did a good job of mixing that up. And they kind of confused Brady a little bit with the 2, 3, 4, 6 guys, 5 guys rushing. Cornell did a good job, but they still somehow had 31 points. 24 came from the offense, or 34 points. 27 came from the offense. So I don't know. It's like the offense, in my opinion, can play better, and they should play better, and they will play better because they'll play weaker defenses. But I expected a little bit better even then. Like looking at this score, I'm like 34-16. Okay, that's kind of what I expected. But if you take away the Patriots turnovers and they don't make those, could they potentially have had 50 points in this game? And then you look at the other side, if the Texans don't turn the ball over, maybe they could have had 20-something points in this game. Like it's hard. It's a hard game to talk about.
So let me ask you this question then. Who looked more impressive today, Atlanta or New England?
Atlanta, but that's only because they didn't turn the ball over. I also think that people look at the Seahawks a lot differently than they look at the Texans.
Sure, yeah. I mean the line for the Falcons Seahawks was 6 by the game time, right? This one was at 15. So I mean,
and the Texans defense was better than the Seahawks defense.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree.
So like it's hard to judge because people like have that Seattle mystique, but you're just looking at the Texans. Oh, they have Brock Osweiler. They're not going to be competitive. But then all of a sudden you get a couple turnovers, maybe lucky, maybe not, and you're in the game. But then the Patriots found a way to pull away, and that's what championship teams do.
I mean, putting the two teams together in terms of if the Falcons were playing the Patriots the way that they played the Seahawks today, and the Patriots played this way against the Texans and they were playing the Falcons, I think the Falcons win this game.
That's hard to tell though, Kev, because like I said earlier, would the Falcons defense force those turnovers?
I don't know, but they did get 2 turnovers against the Seahawks. So
but is the Patriots offense at home better than
the Seattle
offense? I don't think it's really close, right?
Yeah, of course not. Yeah, see, so it's yeah. So we're grading on a scale.
It's hard. It's the Patriot scale. It's a very hard scale.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you guys think in the comments? Comment what you guys thought about this game. What do you take away from this game? If you're a Patriots fan, are you afraid to next week, depending on your opponent, who would you rather play? Were you impressed with any facet of the team? I think the most I was impressed with was the Patriots defense. I know they gave up 16 points to Brock Osweiler, but a lot of those points were starting on the 30 or 20-yard line. And I expected them to play well, but they just continue to show that they are, a good defense. They can make plays. And when they needed to, they did. They had 3 sacks. They had 3 picks. So they played well, especially the secondary. And they didn't really let Lamar Miller have a great game. So they did what they were, supposed to do in this game. And I think the biggest takeaway is
I was just going to say
positively is the Patriots defense. And negatively is the turnovers. Can they get rid of those turnovers and mistakes? And not only the turnovers, but also the penalties, the drops, the miscues.
Yeah. I mean, if Houston has a pretty okay offense, they have some good weapons. Will Fuller,
they just don't have a quarterback. Which is why I think that the Texans suck, even though they don't suck. If you look at it, they're basically a worse version of last year's Broncos.
Yeah. They, in a lot of ways, yeah. They really are. I mean, and Peyton Manning wasn't all that great last year.
And I would still say Peyton last year was better than Brock only because he could put the team in the right play.
Yeah.
But at the very same time, could you really say that he was a lot better? Obviously, the defense was better, but the weapons are pretty much the same. I mean, Sanders and Thomas are better. But Hopkins is just as good as probably both those guys, and Fuller had a huge drop in this game. But Lamar Miller is just as good as Anderson. I mean, like, the teams are very comparable, and that's the sort of team that give the Patriots problems. So maybe it's just a matchup issue for the Patriots.
It could be. It could be. I think, yeah. I think once we see what we have from the Steelers and the Chiefs tomorrow, we'll get a good early gauge of what the AFC Championship game can look like. I think we'll have to wait and see what tomorrow brings.
I think it's going to be an interesting watch tomorrow because it depends on how the weather is. Yeah. I think that game could be equally as sloppy because of the weather. I think it will be a heavy Le'Veon Bell game. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. It might be a little bit lower scoring than it typically would in fair weather.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to be a good watch. We got a guy here that says, I hope we play Kansas City. There's pros and cons to both. I think if you play the Steelers, you don't have to deal with a defense that is as ferocious and has great pass rushers and can turn the football over. But on offense, they're more explosive. But then if you go to the Kansas City, they're an offense that is relying on Alex Smith to make the big plays. Andy Reid at times can choke away a game with this clock management. Their defense is, I think, a little bit overrated. That's something I want to see tomorrow. I don't think Kansas City's defense is on the same level as the Texans' defense. Kansas City's defense gives up a lot of yards. They do force turnovers, and that's a good thing. But even in points and yards, they weren't that great this season, especially away from home. So it's going to be interesting to watch tomorrow, and also just whoever wins that game, how they match up with the Patriots.
Yeah, it will be interesting, but it's a little bit of that early psychological preview of where the teams are coming off as they get into their Wednesday practice and what people are seeing. I think once practice happens and once we get close to the game, I think the reality will set in, but I think there's a bit of an emotional point to this. So
what do you mean by that?
I think sometimes I was talking about this last week. I think that there are times that we get super hyped up about the third place and fourth place teams of they're gonna pull the upset, folks. So you look out for them. And I think let's take the Seahawks for example. I mean, they faced a very bad Detroit Lions team, and we thought going into Atlanta, some thought they can do this. And they solved all their problems, and they really didn't solve any of their problems. So I think you can't let the emotions of the games get in the way of your predictions. I think you do have to wait and let this sift in. It's like saying something is a 6-star match right after a match, right?
Oh,
you wait until you give it some time to marinate. So.
Yeah, it's
going to be
interesting. I'm sure Belichick will be all over the team for their mistakes. And that's why I'm confident as a Patriots fan. One, like Coach here, my pops on the comment section says the Patriots just played the best defense in the playoffs. Now the rest of the games will be shootouts. Games will be decided on turnovers and poor decisions. The Patriots will be tough to beat going forward. Yeah, I agree with that. But they play the best defense, and things like that happen when you play good defenses. I mean, you're going to turn the ball over, especially without Gronk, who a lot of people forgot about. He's all-world, all-time. I think this is the year, especially because you just passed the best defense you have left, that this is the year that you can get by without having Gronk. You're not going to face a Denver defense or a Giants defense or a Baltimore defense.
No, you're not facing a mammoth, awesome defense at this point. No, you're right. So that's one thing. But I guess if it was 16-13, I think we would be having a much different conversation about the Patriots.
Yeah, I think it's also impressive the way that they kind of dealt with those mistakes and moved forward.
Yeah.
To a certain degree, because a lot of teams would fold under the pressure, especially in the playoffs, being the number one seed, being 14-2. Martin here says, anyone know anything about Bennett's injury? Bennett literally got hurt and then went in the next play. It's something about those Bennetts that get hurt every week and then come back in the game like 1 or 2 plays later. They're drama queens. I don't know what it is. He should be fine for next week. I know Kev can comment on that.
Well, I can't. I mean, I don't know if they're drama queens, but yes, Michael got hurt and came back. So,
but Marty does that all the time. Like every week, it's like, oh, Bennett's hurt again. Like literally, when he went down, I was like, Bennett's hurt again. It looked serious, but I'm like, Bennett's hurt again. He's gonna get right back up.
You know what he should do? What he should do is have a press conference and just walk in and make sure that people can see his injury.
Are you talking about Ben Roethlisberger?
No, I would no.
Oh.
I would never.
You know what he should
never,
do one game is do one of his fake injury things, then get up and then go on the cart, go all the way back and then come back.
Yeah, just walk back. Yeah. We should have people who do that more often. It creates a little bit more of a watchable point, right? It's for good ratings, people.
Yeah. You gotta put some entertainment in there.
Put some entertainment in there.
How did you find this game in terms of an entertainment standpoint from not a Patriots fan or Texans fan of view?
Because I love the NFL. I enjoy. I mean, I even enjoyed the 9-6, the 6-all tie that everyone hated. I enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't dramatic because I think we were all expecting this. Tomorrow's games are going to be much better. There's no question about that.
I hope so. Well, the Atlanta game I thought would be pretty good, but it was okay. But I think you could kind of compare it to this game. Let's get into some of the players individually. Brock Osweiler, of course, was awful. He had 1 touchdown, but the guy had 23 completions and only had 200 yards. He threw the ball 40 times. He was literally throwing 5-yard plays. I think he had 110 yards until the last 5 minutes, and then he got 60 yards at the end. He had that touchdown wide open to Fedorowicz on their fake reverse. Nice play. The Patriots missed the coverage. I think it was Harmon who missed Fedorowicz in the end zone. He threw 3 interceptions, if I can remember all of them. McCourty baited him into 1, which was a nice interception by McCourty. Logan Ryan picked 1 off, right?
1, and Harmon had the other one.
Harmon's was bad. He threw it straight at Harmon. Harmon always has an interception at the end of the divisional game. I don't know what it is. He just does. And yeah, Ryan had a okay interception. I guess it was a tip, right?
Yes, I think it was. Yeah, I think
it's hard to remember with all these interceptions.
Because Brady's so often.
Brady's threw 1 right at the guy's chest and it bounced up and caught it, and then the other one was Floyd bounced off his hands and he caught it. So it was 2 deflections. A little unlucky, but the second one was bad in my opinion.
Yeah.
I thought Brady played okay. He didn't obviously play his greatest game. He made some plays down the field that were impressive. He bought some time at times and made some nice clutch throws to Edelman and Hogan. But he did have a couple mistakes that I thought we could have done without. Lamar Miller was okay. He was better than the first time they played. He had 19 for 73 and was all right. Lewis was one of the stars of the game, but also had those fumbles. He looks really quick. He looks healthy. Him and Blunt provide a nice 1-2 punch. Blunt wasn't very successful on the ground in this game. He did have 31 yards on 8 carries, which looks okay, but he just wasn't efficient throughout the game. James White didn't play a lot, but he did have a touchdown. I thought the Patriots were going to try and attack them with their backs out of the backfield. They scored 2 touchdowns receiving-wise, but they didn't get a lot of catches, which kind of surprised me. Texans, Hopkins kind of ate away with 5 to 10-yard catches. Nothing real special there. Fuller was pretty much locked down. Butler had him locked down, except for that one play where he dropped it the whole game. He only had 16 yards. Fedorowicz had that 1 touchdown, which was most of his yardage, and Grimes, a running back, got a lot of yards on screen passes. Defensively, Clowney was disruptive. Merciless made a friggin' ridiculous spin move on Andrews for the sack. Cushing had a sack. Interception was Boye had an interception and a forced fumble. I thought that McKinney played well tackling-wise. He did get beat a couple times by Bennett and Lewis, but he's not the greatest in coverage. For the Patriots, Butler played well. Hightower tackled well. Logan Ryan was the star for the Patriots. He had a sack, an interception, and 7 tackles. Malcolm Brown had a sack. Eric Rowe had that bad penalty, but other than that, played pretty well. Patrick Chung played great. McCourty had an interception. Ninkovich had a sack. He played pretty good as well. He almost had an interception in the game. And Deron Harmon had an interception. Any thoughts on any individual players on defense or offense?
I think what was interesting is just for the Texans, Clowney and Merciless were were all over the place. All over the place. They were really great. I think what was impressive for the Patriots defensively is their stops are pretty timely. Like Houston could have had opportunities to get a little bit of momentum here and there, and the Patriots just know that it's not flashy, but they get the job done at the right time. So it's not like, my gosh, this Patriots defense is amazing.
Yeah,
but
they don't look like the Broncos, Yeah. But they make stops and they force turnovers.
Yeah. As far as Houston's offense, it's just frustrating because you can't do much with this quarterback. You really can't. You can't stretch the field. You're limited with a running back because 73 is an impressive amount of yards because you almost want to hand the ball off every play. You can't.
It's hard for a running back like Lamar Miller to be successful when your quarterback is so bad.
Yeah.
If Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady's your quarterback and you have and you're running the ball, it's easier.
Yeah.
To answer a question real quick, we'll get back to you, Kev. This guy says, what about Hogan's injury? Didn't they take him out towards the end? They did. He was out for the rest of the game, but according to Twitter, one of the Patriots beat writers said that Chris Hogan is walking without a limp in the locker room. So it seems like he was on the sideline, though. So it seems like he will be fine for next week. Malcolm Mitchell is also expected to be back next week. Probably will play more than Michael Floyd, seeing as how Michael Floyd did not have a good game.
Yes, that's true. Yes, I don't suspect we're going to see. I don't suspect we'll see him again, but at the same time, somehow he may end up with 10 catches, but because that's how that works.
There's no way of predicting it. It's the Patriots.
Yeah.
Next week Michael Floyd could go for 200. We don't know.
Yeah.
Any other comments about the game, Kev?
I think tomorrow will be a very interesting day to see where, when we compare these two team winners to today's winners, to see what happens. I think I do think we're in for good AFC and NFC championship games. I do foresee that. I think the Falcons are better than people expected. And they're the New England Patriots. They're just who they are, right? So,
yeah. So that pretty much sums it up for the Patriots versus the Texans. It's January the 14th, divisional round. Patriots move on with a win, 34-16. For many Patriots fans, it might not be the most impressive win they've ever seen, but it's a win nonetheless by 18 points. They covered the spread. They move on to the AFC Championship to play at home versus the Steelers or the Texans. Hope you guys enjoyed this recap.
The Chiefs. They just defeated the Texans. You don't get the Texans. You get a rematch.
Steelers, sorry, my bad. Let's play the Texans again. I wouldn't mind. Kev, what's your Twitter? Where can we find you?
At KEVOLE.
And I'm at Mitch Milani on Twitter. I'll be tweeting during the AFC Championship probably. Tomorrow, I'll definitely be tweeting. I don't tweet so much during the Patriots games because I'm kind of nervous watching them. But when I'm watching a different game, I'll definitely be tweeting about, oh, this guy sucks or this guy's really good. So definitely follow us on Twitter and subscribe to the channel. The Bottom Line View has you covered. The rest of the NFL playoffs, I'll be here every single day. Dylan will be on tomorrow. I'm sure Kevin will be on for some of them.
Sure.
So we'll see what happens. The NFL is exciting. It's the playoffs. Let's celebrate it. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and peace out.
Peace.